In this talk, I want to look at Shreyas and Preyas in a slightly different light than we're used to looking at. And I want to look at it in a way that might help you better resist temptation and make plans based on what is ultimately beneficial. So Shreyas means immediate gratification, and Shreyas means holding off immediate gratification for some higher purpose. So we've all been through this situation where we know something in our head. This is what I should do. But in our heart, there's some addiction or some habit or some conditioning to act a different way. So we don't always do what we know we should do. So Shreyas means we're acting more from the heart, from the feeling. And Preyas means more we're acting from intelligence. So how can we garner our intelligence to put it to use in a better way? Well, one of the things that intelligence does is intelligence is analytical. It looks at ramifications. Whereas the mind doesn't look at ramifications. The mind just looks at what it wants, what it likes, or what it doesn't want. So if the mind wants something, it doesn't think what will be the consequence. It just thinks this will make me happy right now, or this will not make me happy right now. And it doesn't look at the consequences of doing an austerity or doing something that won't make us happy, that may have benefit in the future. So how do we harness the power of Preyas so we can counteract this tendency to not act on something we know we should act on? Well, do this little meditation. It's very, very powerful. This will harness the power of intelligence, and this is really what Prabhupada is doing throughout his books. When you're engaged in doing something that you shouldn't do, or you don't want to do, or you know it's not good for you, but you tend to do it, overeating, oversleeping, too much time on social media, talking about things you shouldn't talk about, thinking about things you shouldn't think about. Things which are regular for us, that we know we shouldn't do, we regret having done. After we do it, it doesn't make us happy. It actually makes us feel bad. But we tend to continue to do it because of the, we could say, addiction. So what I would like you to do is meditate on that activity or that group of activities that are not beneficial for you. And then consider it's 10 years from now. And for the last 10 years, you've been living your life exactly the same way. Now think of the ramifications of those actions. What would your life be today, which today would now be 10 years from now, if those temptations, if those habits, which are not good for you, which you would like to control or give up, remain as they are now, basically uncontrolled to one degree or another? 10 years from now, what will you like? What will your life be like? And if that thought or that feeling doesn't feel good, then the exercise is working, because we're empowering intelligence to look at ramifications in the future of your life, to look at the consequences of your action, because the mind and the senses don't look at consequences. Okay, so now let's take this in another way, to the Preyas level. 10 years from now, you did follow through with your intelligence. You stopped doing what you shouldn't do, which you know you shouldn't do, that you have been unable to give up doing perfectly. And you started doing things which you know you should be doing, which you haven't been doing. So now it's 10 years later. Think what your life will be like now, having controlled yourself in those areas in which you know you should control yourself. And just meditate on that and allow yourself to dream a little bit what your life is like, and also feel. What does that feel like? So you can do this with anything. And by doing this, what you're doing is you're empowering your intelligence to look at ramifications, but not only look at the ramifications, perhaps even more importantly, allow yourself to feel the ramifications. Because if you look 10 years from now, and you think what your life will be like if certain things don't change, and you allow yourself to feel what you might feel like 10 years from now, or what you feel like now, just envisioning what it would be like 10 years from now, that's good. You should feel bad. Because that feeling bad becomes an impetus to change, because nobody wants to feel bad. And if you allow yourself to feel good, that also becomes an impetus to change, because naturally we gravitate towards doing something which feels good. So of course, I'm not talking that Krishna consciousness is about feeling good or bad, but just working with our human psychology, that we're attracted to doing things which make us feel better, make us feel more whole, make us feel obviously more Krishna conscious. So with anything that you're challenged with, just do this exercise. It's a Shreyas, really a Shreyas Preyas exercise. If I give in to my instincts, 10 years from now, what will my life be like? If I don't give in to my instincts and I do what my intelligence tells me to do, 10 years from now, what will my life be like? You can do it right now. You can do it every day. You can do it anytime you're challenged with something. Even in the moment, you can say, okay, I'm challenged. I'm tempted to do this. If I do this, how will I feel after I do it? Because the nature of passion is, although there's pleasure in doing it, if it's the wrong thing after you do it, it's such a paradox, you feel bad. You're doing something you like, something that gives you sensual pleasure or mental pleasure, and then after it's over, either immediately or shortly thereafter, you feel dejected, or you're lamenting, why did I do that? You don't feel happy. So if you can take yourself a little bit forward into thinking, okay, I want to do this now, but if I do it, how will I feel an hour from now, or tomorrow, or next week? And I think some things are so drastic and so tragic that if we did them, we could imagine much of our life would be ruined. Many of our relationships would be ruined. But still, as crazy as the mind is, sometimes we're tempted to do things that destructive. So we just pull a little forward and say, okay, if I do this, how will I feel? Because ultimately I'm doing it to feel good. But if you take it forward, you realize you won't feel good, you'll feel bad, and you'll get a little pleasure, but the pain will last and last and last. So these exercises can be very powerful in helping us become more aligned with what our intelligence is telling us to do and what we feel in our heart.